Look what I can do.
Welcome to the Grim Reaper Radio Network, the final resting place for ideas both controversial and tame. I'm death, not taxes. I turn up only once. The truth may be out there, but the lies are inside your head. Despite the rumor, death isn't cruel, merely terribly good at his job. It is often said that life is cheap. This is, of course, completely wrong. Life is often very expensive, but you can get death for free. Do you not know that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken? Light thinks it travels faster than anything, but it is wrong. No matter how fast light travels, it finds the darkness has always gotten there first and is waiting for it. Join Grimm on his distinctly underground network. You've got to admit, that's not the strangest thing that I've done. All right, I got my Binky back. Hey, Binky, how you doing?
I'm doing.
Good. We'll call that square and move on with the compromise. Let me turn that thing off. How are we doing today in chat? We got a whole pile of folks mucking around over here. And I'm going to try my best not to get anybody any copyright strikes, but no freaking promises. We're going to do that thing. Do this one. I think that gets a square, right?
What's up, What's Truth? Good to see you, bud.
Got a famous person in the
Scully.
long time no see. I used to lurk all your live streams, and I don't know. I've been real busy lately. I've been missing them. I could apologize, but I've been real busy lately. Only just now thought about it. So I'm sorry for that. How about that? That good enough? What's up, Katie? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. All right, roll back. We are going to roll back because Izzy got the gold.
Izzy Pop.
And oh my Lord, it wasn't. It lost it. Why did it lose it? Oh,
Are you sure you had it?
Yeah, no, I hate StreamYard sometimes. Okay, well, I guess Princess OPD gets the no. It was the Smoking Otter that gets the silver, and Princess OPD gets the bronze.
Are you sure?
That's the one I'm positive. That's the one I'm missing because he gets
Why
in first.
Are you missing?
But it's way early, and it doesn't.
Oh, when you go live, yeah, I got you.
Right, exactly.
She was here. She might be watching.
Who to she to what to who?
Scully asked, "Where's Izzy?"
Izzy was around. She swung through. She may come back through again. I don't control people when I'm not around. Sometimes only partially when I am around. Pop. There you go. I'm Papa Squatch, baby. That's the way that rolls. An award because I'm
Squatch again.
Okay, yeah, give Nez an award. She deserves one. She does excellent stuff for really reals. Okay, do you know what the show's about? Did you go check the thing?
I did.
Did you do your homework?
I did my homework.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
What do you know about, off the top of my head, opals?
Opals?
Not that
it's
much.
A stone?
Okay. It doesn't.
A gem.
It is a gem. That is true. It is a mineralized deposit accumulated over time through the evaporation of water and gases. So you can develop an opal on almost anything that is a change in the rock. And so you can have insects, you can have kind of like amber.
You can have what? Insects?
You can actually have opalized fossils. If they sit there long enough, they too can become opalized. It is a process that takes a bajillion years. That's not a specific number, of course, but it takes a long time. It's not something that just happens overnight. So I have I have a video picked out about opalized fossils specifically. Also, the unluckiest ship and the luckiest crew ever. Third, last but not least, and not last at all.
Revenge.
Yes. However, you might not like this one.
Sorry.
Sherman. And it's done by a tiny channel. I say tiny. He's got more subs than I do.
You said it's what?
It's done by a tiny channel. It's Sherman's Revenge.
Oh, Sherman.
It's the name of the video. Sherman's Revenge. Sherman's Final Revenge. Anyway, I'll get to all of that later in the show, but that's the general premise of what we're going with. Any of these videos, any of these creators you want to find, their links are in the description. Have at, feel free. Make it happen. What's up, truth be told? Brandon Mitchell, good to see you. John Smith 2046. I wonder if that's his address. It's not the year he's from, it's his address. You just got to figure out what the street name is. Maybe it's Smith Street. Hey, somebody mail that man a letter. He's been waiting a long time. All right, so our first video is from the Fat Electrician. You'll find his channel linked at the top of the comments on my page, although not on hers, because I can't control that one, can I? No. If I drop the link in chat, however, let's see. We'll do it the other way.
If you drop it in StreamYard, it should.
Right. If I do it in StreamYard, it'll drop over there.
It should.
We'll do that. Right. We call this ghetto syndication, folks.
GG Deb.
Yep.
Truth be told, good to see you.
All right. Now, this dude has a certain way about how he does videos that absolutely tickles me. He has the facts on hand, but he does it in a funny, offhanded way that is just, I love it. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's the time the USS Iowa got a jacuzzi tub installed in it, and then like 2 days later, an American destroyer shot a torpedo at it. And today we're talking about the ship that shot that torpedo. Ladies and gentlemen, the unluckiest ship in U.S. naval history, the USS William D. Porter, unaffectionately nicknamed the Willie D. But first, a word from our sponsor, because this video is brought to you by me in a Quack Bang print Hawaiian shirt, because we have a bunch of new merch over at the merch store. And I just started a Patreon where I'm going to be posting all the deleted scenes from these videos and a bunch of other behind the scenes content. So if you wanted to check that out, it's all over at thefatelectrician.com. Head there after the video, which we're going to get back to.
By the way,
all right, important background info. The Willie D is a Fletcher class destroyer.
In the After Dark tonight, we're going into a bit of a celebration because I had 2,200 subs.
Come on.
That's what we're doing. I'm going to get a little unruly, and then we're going to watch some TV afterwards in the backstage, because I'm not going to stay drunk on YouTube for long. I've learned my lesson.
Have you?
Yes, you taught me part of it. There is footage of me singing something absurd on Wandering Hippie. or is it singing it? One of them. Anyway, absolute absurdity. Absolute. Boom Chicken Meow. Yeah, that works. I guess.
Say that boom.
You don't know, right after the attack on Pearl Harbor, America decided, hey, we need a bunch of more naval power if we want to fight this war. So they basically had two options of how to go about that. Option A, they could do what the Germans and the Japanese were doing by creating a couple of warships that were like really, really good, supposedly, you know, like they're going to have a bunch of armor and a bunch of firepower and they're going to be unstoppable and huge and blah, 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 blah. Or option B, they could go with the tried and true American strategy of accuracy by volume. You can have one really big, really powerful warship, or you can have a shit ton of pretty good warships and just overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers, okay? It's kind of like that decision
Sasquatch
that you make
approved.
at 2 a.m. when you're drunk and you call Domino's and you're like, hey, can I get a large pizza? And the guy on the other end of the line is like, yeah, I can give you one large pizza, or hear me out, I can give you like 57 medium pizzas for the same price. America picking the 57 medium pizzas every time.
I agree.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, the Fletcher class destroyer is quite literally the Sherman tank of the ocean. Okay, basically, America built a ton of them, which, you know, good. That's a great strategy. The only problem with making a bunch of new warships, though, is that you're going to need a bunch of new sailors, and new sailors don't always have a ton of experience, and that is where the story really begins. So, once upon a time, July 6, 1943, the USS William D. Porter gets commissioned and put into service. We now have a brand new warship being crewed by presumably a bunch of rookies. And they're in need of their first mission. It's probably going to end up being something pretty easy, you know, where all the new guys can get their feet wet,
some
get some
tutorial
experience,
shit, right?
build their confidence up,
First
something
mission
along
in the game,
those lines,
right?
you would think.
Right?
But no, absolutely not. We're going to go ahead and send them on a super duper top secret mission where they are going to help escort the USS Iowa across the Atlantic Ocean to North Africa. You know, the same Atlantic Ocean that in 1943 was infested with German U-boats that were sinking
you could walk across
hundreds
it
of
on
ships.
buoys without
And just to be
getting
clear,
your
this
feet
mission
wet.
is so secretive that nobody even involved in the mission knows what's going on until it's already happening. This is like the Snoop Dogg or Willie Nelson of secret missions. Okay, this is the highest level of secrecy that you can achieve. Why is it so secretive? Because on the USS Iowa is going to be FDR, the president, his entire Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Secretary of State. And they're
prettier to look at. So
she has a point.
They're going to meet Stalin, Winston Churchill, Shanghai Jack, different countries that are going to fight the Axis powers. And my favorite factoid of this entire mission is that the crew of the USS Iowa had no idea that they were going to be escorting the president, but at the same time, they had to make certain accommodations for the president before he showed up, including installing a jacuzzi tub in his quarters. So for a period of time, there was a bunch of new sailors looking around like, why the fuck are we getting a jacuzzi tub installed on our battleship? This is awesome. And then like a week later, FDR shows up and the whole crew's like, oh, well, this makes way more sense now because obviously FDR can't really shower. He's going to need a bathtub because, you know, he's got that water polo injury or whatever happened to him. Anyways, so the Willie D goes to leave port for the very first time to meet up with the USS Iowa. And while backing up, they forgot to bring the anchor up all the way and proceeded to scrape the life rafts and a bunch of other equipment off of the destroyer next to it. And then they bumped into like two more destroyers just trying to get out of the harbor.
Well, now I want to make a point here. This is not a bad thing. This sounds like a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. If there are that many destroyers that you can't even get out of the harbor without running into a couple, you're in good hands. That's a good thing. Gully? Yeah, bro. He's already on his meds tonight. Yes, sir. You jump into him a little early tonight, bro. I'm on some.
Had that tea, huh? Did you get your shipment?
So they set out on this super secret mission escorting the president across the Atlantic. It's the USS Iowa being escorted by 3 destroyers, including the Willie D, and 2 escort carriers. Now, while they're traveling, they have to have complete silence to be as quiet as possible to not get detected by U-boats.
Damn sure had
and
a
that
picture of
includes
Ron
not
Jeremy
using
on
the
the
radio. Absolute radio silence.
You
have to communicate using signal lamps instead. So fast forward, we're like 24 hours into this 8-day-long mission. Everything is going great. Then suddenly they hit a rough patch of ocean, and the Willie D apparently didn't strap down all of their depth charges, and one of them just rolls off the ship into the water and fucking explodes. Okay, now the crew of the Willie D knows exactly what happened, but all the other ships have no idea, and all they know is that there was a huge explosion underwater near the boat that the president is on. Everything went from 0 to DEFCON holy shit like that. So they're thinking they're getting attacked by German U-boats. They break out into evasive maneuvers. Everybody's running to their battle stations, getting ready for a fight. And then the Willie D hops on the signal lamp and we're like, sorry, that was us. The whole radio silence thing actually comes in pretty clutch for the Willie D right here because since they can't talk on the radio, command has no idea of actually figuring out what happened. They're not going to know that somebody just forgot to ratchet strap down the depth charges. And they also can't get chewed out via signal lamp. So the whole conversation was pretty much just that. Hey, that was us. We're not getting attacked. The end. For now. And since this is the first of 8 days on this voyage, there's a good chance that everybody's just going to forget that this happened and we can all move on. Fast forward 2 days, we're now on the third day of the 8-day voyage and the USS Iowa goes full dog and pony show mode and they decide they're going to release a bunch of weather balloons to be able to shoot their anti-aircraft guns at to show off for the president. So they get all these weather balloons up in the air and then they proceed to let them float all the way across the continental United States from Montana to the coast of South Carolina before they shoot them down with an F-22 Raptor. Wait, that's the fucking wrong story. Sorry, USS Iowa opens fire with their anti-aircraft guns. They're taking out all these weather balloons. FDR's super impressed, but then there's a huge gust of wind, and it blows a bunch of these weather balloons out of range and over towards the Willie D. At this point, the Willie D is like, oh shit, this is our chance to redeem ourselves. Quick, man those anti-aircraft guns. We got to take out these balloons. And that's exactly what they do. They start absolutely destroying these balloons. They popped every single one of them. They did a terrific job. So they pop all these balloons. The crew of the Willie D is just amped. They've totally redeemed themselves. Everybody's going to forget about that depth charge thing now. This is the best day ever. So the commander decides, not wanting to lose all of his crew's motivation, they're also going to do some torpedo drills, keep boosting up their morale, you know? So when you do a torpedo drill, you send the torpedo guy down and he takes the primers out of the torpedoes in the torpedo tube so that when you fire the torpedo for the drill, it doesn't actually launch the torpedo. So the chief torpedo officer goes down, takes all the primers out of the torpedoes, gives a thumbs up that they're good to proceed.
I'm not praying Nightbot.
The Willie D then picks a target. Now, bear in mind, he's trying to improve his men's confidence and morale. And what are you going to do if you want them to score a hit? You're going to aim for the biggest target, right? Give them the biggest opportunity to succeed that you can give them. So they aim at the USS Iowa, you know, the ship with the president on it. So the crew takes aim with the torpedo tubes. Commander gives the order, fire torpedo number 1. Click. Torpedo stays in the tube. Nothing happens. They wait a few minutes. They're like, oh, hey, we scored an imaginary direct hit. Good for us. Terrific. Commander gives the order again. Fire torpedo number 2. Click. Nothing happens. Wait a few minutes. Oh, hey, we scored another direct hit. Commander gives the order. Fire torpedo number 3. Chief torpedo officer. Fire fucking what now? The president of the United States. They have between 3 and 5 minutes before that thing hits the USS Iowa. What do? Obviously, you radio over to the Iowa and say, you need to move.
We just shot the president.
But we can't do that because we're under orders to maintain radio silence, remember? And if we break radio silence, some German U-boat might come out of nowhere and shoot a torpedo at the president. So they decide they're not going to use the radio, which is like not calling the fire department when your house is on fire because they're going to show up and get shit wet. Like, sometimes you just have to fight fuck-ups with fuck-ups, okay? But whatever. So they decide they're not going to use the radio. They're going to use the signal lamp instead. So this poor, what I presume to be an 18-year-old kid that was probably in high school 6 months ago, climbs up on this.
Hold on. Can you imagine that? This dude like has been training for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and he just gets a message handed to him. It's like, here, signal this to the Iowa. The Iowa with the president on it? Yeah. So we shot at the president. No, we shot at the Iowa, not the president. We were supposed to, but no, I don't want to know. I'm just going to send a message. Click, 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 click.
Lamp, probably having the worst panic attack of his entire life, knowing full well that if he messes this up, he very well may be partially responsible for killing the longest sitting president, both literally and figuratively, in American history. And the panic attack is starting to get the best of him because he's up there like 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. How many fucking lanterns do hang the signal? Don't move. There's a torpedo coming at you. So the commander of the Willie D tells this kid, signal the Iowa. Tell him there's a torpedo coming towards you. The kid sends a signal. The Iowa gets a signal and it reads as, and I quote, there's a torpedo moving away from you. So now the Iowa is super
because
confused.
He just started training.
Back. They're like, So the commander of the Willie D tells this kid, fuck it, just signal the Iowa, tell him to back up. Kid sends a signal, the Iowa gets it, and it reads, and I quote, "We're backing up," meaning the Willie D is backing up. So the Iowa's sitting there like there's a torpedo moving away from us, and the Willie D is backing up. I think they're getting attacked by a submarine right now. So they signal back, "Where's the submarine?" After hearing this, the commander of the Willie D finally comes to the realization that he would rather be the guy that broke radio silence than be the guy that killed the president of the United States. So he picks up the radio and calls over to the Iowa. He says something along.
All right. Where's the sub? What sub? We shot at you. Wait, you know what? Screw this whole radio blackout shit. Give me the phone. Give me the phone. Give me, dude. I'm gonna start tapping it out in the hall if you don't give me that phone. We just shot at the president. We really need to clear this up because this is going to be an international incident and certainly a conspiracy theory.
On the lines of Lion, which is the Iowa's code name, emergency torpedo in the water, turn right. The Iowa doesn't know who's talking to him, so they're like, say again, who is this? And he's like, it's the commander of the Willie D, fucking turn right or you're going to get hit by a torpedo. So they bank right. At this point, all hell breaks loose on the USS Iowa because there's a torpedo coming towards them and they have the president on board. Everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off. At this point, FDR decides he's going to be a complete gangster, just straight up hold my blanket. What? Orders his secret security guys to wheel him up to the railing because he wants to make eye contact with this torpedo as it shoots the USS Iowa. And in his own document, he would go on to write about how he personally saw that torpedo miss by only 1,000 feet. So the torpedo missed. The crisis.
Congratulations, Matt! You got the booby prize.
The only ship that knows what happened, and all the other ships are still looking for a submarine that attacked the USS Iowa. So the Willie D has to radio over and is like, "Yeah, that was us. Sorry." At which point, the USS Iowa takes all three of her turrets, 9 16-inch guns, and turns them and points them at the Willie D. The Willie D is then ordered to leave the group, sail back to Bermuda.
Historically speaking, battleship commanders are not the most forgiving creatures in the ocean. They've been known to reduce islands to naught. You know, it'd be like that. But when you can, it's kind of like a carpenter who hits everything with a hammer. It's not a nail, but he has a hammer. He doesn't have a pry bar. He doesn't have a lug wrench. He's going to whack it with what he's got, which is a hammer, which is why everyone says it looks like a nail.
By themselves, where they're going to get investigated because they just tried to kill the president. And what happened next is kind of debated. One story goes that the Marine Corps boarded the Willie D and arrested the entire crew, making it the first and only time in U.S. naval history that an entire crew got arrested. Some people think that that didn't happen because it wasn't in the Willie D's official war diary.
But listen, when you shoot at the president, under any circumstances, the circumstances are immaterial. They're going to investigate. And it's probably going to involve a whole crowd of you going to jail for a little while at least. But, you know. Okay, hey, Mayhem and Miracles, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Have I missed anybody on your side?
No.
Good deal.
So there's two Midwest. There's two streams, mine and Caucasian.
Yeah. Right. And we're in both places at once because I've warped the space and time to serve myself. Or something like that. I'm sure somebody else could explain it better, but I'm just going to lie.
This was already a super secret mission, and this was fucking embarrassing. I mean, the government didn't release this to the public until the late 1950s after World War II. So it could have actually happened, and the U.S. government covered it up because, you know, the U.S. government covers up all kinds of shit all the time. But what we do know for sure is that the chief torpedo men that failed to remove that third torpedo primer got sentenced to 14 years of hard labor, or at least that was until FDR decided to be a complete gangster yet again, because apparently he found the entire almost assassination attempt thing funny and decided to pardon him. So that was that. The president stepped in, said it was fine. Now the Willie D got sent over to the Northern Pacific. They had to make their way through the Panama Canal up the West Coast. Now they're operating off the coast of Alaska and around the Aleutian Islands.
Is no longer
they're there for about a year and
StreamYards
everything goes
anymore.
great. They do a bunch of training. They go on a couple missions doing anti-submarine work. They do some shore bombardments. Everything goes according to plan and it's perfect.
Right.
Then they finally get the word that since they're performing so well, they're going to get sent over to the actual Pacific Theater and they're going to be fighting in the Philippines and eventually the Battle of Okinawa. Like, this is where the real fighting is going on, and these guys are pumped to be sent there. So just to reiterate, like, they've done their time, they've put a lot of hard work in, they're starting to redeem themselves, they're getting another shot, and they're about to leave the Northern Pacific. What do you think they do? They throw a party, obviously, break out the booze. We're going to have one big party before we actually go off the war. So they all get hammered, and somebody has the bright idea. You know what we need? Some fireworks. Load a round in one of the 5-inch guns. We're going to fire it. And that's exactly what they do. And sure enough, that 5-inch shell makes its way to land.
American,
and not only does it hit land.
This is an American destroyer, right? Right? Okay, that checks out. We're probably going to fire that gun. You probably couldn't stop them boys from doing it. Once they got clear enough, they're shooting something immediately. I mean, that's why they shot the president with the torpedo. They hadn't done it yet. So, you hit the pace car. Kind of same premise.
And it hits the military post that they were operating out of. And on that military post, it landed in the front yard of the commander's house while he was having a party full of all the other high-ranking officers. But this is also another event that wasn't documented in the official war diary, so it clearly could not have happened. But, okay, I've said this once and I'll say it again. Just because something is not in the official log doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Anybody that's been in the military or worked a blue-collar job knows that whenever anything goes wrong, the first thing you do is look at the highest-ranking person there and say, can we fix this without
having a little bit more, Matt. Beg a little bit more.
That's exactly what happens 100% of the time. And in this particular case, the commander that had a shell land in his front yard had two choices. He could A, hold their orders to go to the Pacific so that he could launch an investigation and try to get people in trouble. That's going to take 2 years of his time.
That's why I have Nightbot. He does most of the
work. Or he can just sweep it under the rug, pretend it didn't happen. Those guys already have orders.
You do realize what would happen if I started up Nightbot, right?
What?
I'd have a full-on fucking revolt.
Why?
Liz Miz would skin me personally. If she came in here and found a Nightbot in my chat, she'd think I'd lost it.
If she popped in, you could always deactivate it and let her, I mean, but
no way I could do it fast enough.
Well, I'm sorry you're so slow.
She would know. Oh, welcome to the show, bud. Good to see you.
Orders to leave like this week, and they're just not going to be his problem anymore. What would you do in that situation? So the whole shooting a 5-inch naval gun into the commander's front yard deal gets swept under the rug.
It doesn't do me no good when I'm on your stream
to fight in the war. And unfortunately for the crew of the Willie D, absolutely no one has forgotten the fact that they shot a torpedo at the president, because every time the Willie D gets anywhere near another U.S. ship, they radio over and say, "Don't shoot, we're Republicans," because was a Democrat. But despite their past and despite being made fun of, they actually start kicking ass.
That would not work today.
Kamikaze duty and start doing a really good job. They shoot down a bunch of would-be kamikazes. They send a lot of radio transmissions letting people know that kamikazes are inbound. They're really starting to turn it around. Fast forward to the Battle of Okinawa, one of the largest naval battles of World War II. I believe the largest amphibious landing in the Pacific Theater during World War II. And yes, the battle where the Yamato gets sunk. Is that relevant to the story in any way whatsoever? Absolutely not, but I'm going to bring up the Yamato being a coral reef every chance I get for the rest of my life. Sorry,
Amen,
Battle of
brother.
Okinawa, Willie D is on anti-kamikaze duty, and sure enough, here comes a kamikaze. But unlike usual, it's not trying to fly past the Willie D, the more valuable ships. No, this kamikaze is coming for them. Now, I've heard conflicting accounts as to what type of plane this kamikaze was. I've heard that it was either an Aichi-style dive bomber, commonly referred to as a VAL, or a Mitsubishi Zero. Now, I don't know why they call the dive bomber a VAL, but I believe they called the Mitsubishi a Zero because zero was the numerical representation of how many times these planes made a successful.
No, Midwest. I had surgery.
Either way, it's coming right for them. So they open fire with the anti-aircraft guns. They end up shooting the plane down right in front of them. The plane sinks underneath the water. The day is saved. Hooray. Or so they thought, because the kamikaze apparently hit the water at the angle it was diving at. It then sank below the water and continued to glide until it got underneath the Willie D and then blew up, breaking the back of the entire ship and causing it to sink over the course of the next 3 hours. The entire crew was forced to evacuate. Thankfully, all of them made it out okay. All right, now let's recap, because everybody refers to this story as a story of the Willie D, the U.S. Navy's unluckiest ship. And it is. It was crewed by young men from the very beginning and experienced mishap after mishap, and would ultimately meet its demise after getting blown up by a plane that was underwater that it had already shot down. If that's not unlucky, I don't know what is. However, I would also like to put forward that this has probably been the story of the U.S. Navy's luckiest crew, because nobody else has done this much dumb shit and never had to for it. Leaving port for the first time, they backed into multiple other warships. Nobody cared. 24 hours into their first mission, they dropped a depth charge when they were supposed to be being quiet, and everybody seemingly forgot about it because it got overshadowed by the fact that they shot a torpedo at the president of the United States. When they were about to face consequences for that, the president stepped in and pardoned them. Then they went and shot a 5-inch artillery shell into the front yard of a base commander's house while he was having a house party full of a bunch of other high-ranking military officials, meaning that is now 2 almost accidental assassination attempts on high-ranking people in the span of a year, but that just got swept under the rug. No big deal. Then, when they finally get their shit together and start turning it around and being productive members of the military and start really kicking ass, what I can only describe as divine intervention steps in and blows up their entire ship with an...
Let me explain this for a second. Airplanes are not designed to crash into the water. They are definitely not designed to survive that impact and continue flying. They're certainly not designed to survive that impact, continue flying, and complete the mission. This has never been considered in the history of warfare. The idea has been floated. It is generally assumed to be a completely dead concept, not even blue sky science. And yet, we know for a fact at least once it worked.
An underwater airplane that they had already shot down, and somehow all of them make it out completely okay. So in conclusion, I guess this has been the story of the unluckiest warship that was manned by the luckiest crew in U.S. naval history. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com.
I hate
Quack bang out.
In the after show.
I can't wait till I do my merch. I'm doing my own merch. Sorry.
You got to tap in over here and let me write some of your merch phrases.
Oh, yes.
Mainly, I go through your shit until I find something stupid you say, and then we put it on a t-shirt.
Sounds good to me.
Money, money, money,
because no matter what, justice is always on my side.
Damn right. She's even on your back. Right behind you.
Yep.
Right? We can do it. We can do it. All right. Second video tonight. By the way, ATL, I sent you a link. You're just an old daddy. How to do things. You know, and all
come in here bitching and then
bitching. What she's doing. I seen it with my own eyes. There's something wrong with us. Definitely something wrong with us. Y'all forgive me. You know what?
No forgiveness needed.
Yeah. I was walking through the Waffle House today, went and got some breakfast this morning. And the cop that arrested me on my first DUI charge was sitting in there. He didn't recognize me right off the rip. And he sat there and he kept looking over at me and looking over at me and looking over at me. And then when he got right up next to me, his wife goes, "That's Sasquatch," and kept walking. And I was like, that didn't just happen. And then he comes back in. He goes, "Man, I know you. Where do I know you from?" I said, "You arrested me." Where you know me from? He's like, "Oh yeah, okay." And he walked away. I'm like, I hate that. Like, there's this small town. This man could have known me 9 million different ways. We could have ran into each other at the hardware store, but no, sir. He arrested me. I deserved it. DUI. You know, it'd be happening. This is Rex's hangar. He does some phenomenal World War II fighter stuff, airplanes in general, you know, pretty much anything aero involved. Pretty well covered. What in the world just happened? All right. I got a assumption that my shit's fixing to melt down. Don't judge me.
Technical difficulties. Melting. Oh, yes. No, ain't working. Audio, no.
Before the Second World War, before such aircraft as the Bell
It's working now.
P-39
It's working
Airacobra,
now. It wasn't, but
It was an
the
engine.
Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, and the North American P-51 Mustang,
Oh wait,
there were two
it's my
aircraft
signal.
that paved the way for monoplane fighter development in the United States. One was the Curtiss
can do it, little buddy.
P-36, an aircraft already featured on this
Come
channel,
on.
and which was the direct
You can
precursor
do
to
it.
the P-40.
You can do it.
Another
You
pioneering
can do
monoplane
it.
fighter
Send
was
the
the
freaking
Sasquatch
signal.
P-35, which is the focus of today's video.
Melbourne, California.
Today's video is also very kindly
Melvika.
sponsored by Icarus Art, who
It's good
produce
enough.
aviation-themed prints and posters.
It's a green space
Whether you're
flower.
into
That's
Catalinas,
not smiling.
Corsairs, Stukas, Spitfires, or Ansons, there's sure to be a piece that
Did
takes
I
your
miss Toe?
fancy. And if not, they're
No.
constantly adding new
Okay.
designs and art pieces to
So
their
that's not
Taking
collection.
care of the baby.
Purchase them as printed canvas or
Taking
posters,
care of my baby.
and
that's right.
they come in a variety of sizes to suit your desk space or your office or living room walls. So to check out their collection, click on the link below or go to icarusart.net and use the code REX to get a 10%
They
discount
really
on
do
your
have some
order.
cool shit.
Now, let's take a closer
some of
look
the
at the
best Catalina
Sasquatch
posters.
P-35. The P-35 can trace its origins back to the SEV-3, which was the first aircraft developed by
Check it
the
out.
recently formed Sasquatch Aircraft Company. Founded in 1931,
We have gone through a couple of Rex Hangers videos before, and as usual, I'm going to give the usual commentary to it. Hey, looky there. Hold up. Bam.
Bam. Baby justice.
Right? It's amazing how virile Sasquatches are. Did that from 1,000 miles away. Waka waka. Anyway, he does excellent work. Rex's Hangers is an excellent channel. All of his details are straight on point. He doesn't have any humor involved in it, but yeah, no, it's factual. It's good enough.
Yeah, no.
What's up, Ghost Eagle? Good to see you.
it was in fact a revival of the Sasquatch Aero Corporation, which itself had been founded back in 1923. Now, that company had never actually produced an aircraft itself. Instead, they focused on manufacturing instruments and parts, and it had not been big enough to survive the Wall Street crash of 1929. The SEV-3 was the work of Alexander de Seversky, the company founder, and Alexander Kartveli, his chief designer. Seversky had a long association with aircraft. He'd served with the
What's up,
Imperial
Strictly
Russian Air
Strange? Welcome to the
Services
show,
in the
bud.
First
Good to
World
see you.
War, becoming a flying ace with 13 victories, before fleeing to the States in 1918 to avoid the turmoil of the revolution. Also hailing from Russia, Kartveli was a gifted engineer who had spent most of his professional life living in France, before emigrating to the United States in the late 1920s. His name might be familiar to some viewers of this channel, as Kartveli's list of aircraft designs includes things such as the P-43 Lancer, the P-47 Thunderbolt, the F-84 Thunderjet, the F-84F Thunder Streak, and the F-105 Thunder Chief, just to name a few.
True that.
But those achievements were, for the moment at least, ahead of him. As far as debut aircraft went, the SEV-3 was quite impressive. It was an amphibious, three-seat, low-wing monoplane that, in a time when biplane amphibians were still the norm, represented a huge upgrade for its class. It was powered by a 420 horsepower Wright J6 Whirlwind, and this, along with its sleek all-metal design, allowed Seversky himself to set a new world speed record for the type of 179.7 miles an hour, which was around 289 kilometers an hour.
I got you.
Its performance was good enough that Seversky believed it could easily compete for military contracts.
All right, let me explain my opinion on skill, luck, and talent. You can be skilled and untalented and lucky. You can be unlucky, talented, and skilled, and that doesn't matter if you have luck at that point, because you're just that damn good, talented, and then you put in the 10,000 hours for the skills. That's good. But if I've only got to do it once, or I only have one shot at it, I'll take lucky every day of the damn week. Because you only got to do it once. You only got to get lucky one time. What's up, Trinity Trails? Good to see you, bud. Welcome back. Right?
With
Here we
this in
go.
mind, the floats were removed and a pair of fixed main landing gears with aerodynamic spats were installed instead. Redesignated as the SEV-3XAR, it was then sent to Wright Field to compete in a competition for a new general training aircraft for the Army Air Corps. In 1935, it won the competition and became the first all-metal, low-wing monoplane trainer selected for US service. Production models were known as the BT-8, and Seversky would end up producing around 30 for the Army Air Corps. In general, it was well liked by Army pilots. It was sturdy, reliable, and was easy to take off and land. However, there was one glaring issue, and that was it was woefully underpowered. This wasn't a result of the design itself, but an Army mandate that all training aircraft should have an engine of no more than 400 horsepower. As such, the BT-8 had been re-engined with a Pratt & Whitney Wasp Jr. To prove that the airframe would be perfectly viable with a much more powerful engine, Seversky modified the original SEV once again. A Wright R1820 Cyclone was installed, rated at around 750 horsepower, and the floats were also reinstalled as well. Alexander Seversky himself then took it upon himself to set yet another world speed record, this time clocking in at 230.4 miles an hour, which was around 370 kilometers an hour, in September of 1935.
We haven't even gotten to the
Unfortunately, an
celebration.
upgraded version of the Seversky BT-8 would not be produced. By the time the BT-8s were entering service in 1936, the prototype for what would become the North American BT-9 had already flown. This aircraft, the forerunner to the famous T-6 Texan, would quickly go on to replace the BT-8s in the latter parts of the 1930s.
Welcome to the show.
However, buoyed by the improved performance of the SEV-3, Seversky built a second aircraft, specifically to enter in a new pursuit fighter competition that had been opened by the Army in 1935. The SEV-2XP was basically a land plane version of the upgraded SEV-3 with a fixed landing gear. It inherited the aerodynamic spats from the SEV-3 land plane, and it mounted 3 machine guns, a 50 caliber and a 30 caliber weapon in the nose, and a 30 caliber in the rear for defense as well. Built as a 2-man aircraft in a time when the single cockpit fighter was the norm, and not looking like the sleekest aircraft around either,
that's like
range that Seversky felt confident of winning the upcoming competition.
If you want to, man.
Luckily for Seversky, the
Listen, let me explain to you how YouTube sees it. You give me a bunch of thumbs up, that's good. They pay attention to that. They'll send this out to somebody else somewhere, right? You give me a bunch of thumbs down, has exactly the same fucking effect. And I could get those if I wanted them. You would all hate me that I chose. But I choose to be a nice guy. I'm a nice Sasquatch. I do nice.
You're not nice. You're so dramatic.
I am so. Tough love is still nice, damn it.
I guess.
You got to learn to do the things you've got to learn to do. I can't do it for them, right?
Right.
Okay. So just because I don't do something doesn't mean I'm being a bitch about it. It just means that might be one.
Oh, you're going to do it. You might not do it then.
I'm not talking about you. You haven't asked me to do shit.
I don't have to. You just do it.
Well, I might something. Don't be pulling the wool over everybody's eyes.
Prototype aircraft was damaged en route to the proving ground at Wright Field. I say luckily because during this time, Curtiss Wright had unveiled their prototype for the Model 75 Hawk, which would have completely dominated Seversky's entry in the competition and led to some serious embarrassment. Owing to the damaged prototype, the competition was delayed, allowing Seversky and Kartveli to carry out repairs. They also carried out an extensive redesign, having now seen what the competition actually was. Retaining the wing and engine, the fuselage was modified to have a single-seat cockpit with a razorback spine, something that would become a bit of a hallmark for Kartveli designs moving forward. And the fixed landing gear was replaced by a rearward retracting landing gear with fairings that completely enclosed the mechanism and wheels. This not only dramatically improved the streamlining of the aircraft, but it would also act as a slight buffer in a wheels-up landing, with the fairings taking the worst of the impact before the fuselage made contact with the ground. With said modifications made, the aircraft was redesignated yet again as the SEV-1XP, and it returned to Wright Field to take part in the competition in late 1935. Curtis Wright then immediately complained that the Seversky model had been improved upon rather than just repaired, and they demanded that the competition be delayed again so that they could make modifications to their prototype as well. Fast forward to early 1936, and both sides had finally stopped complaining for long enough that the Army could actually get on with things, and then the Army immediately complicated matters by stipulating a change in power plant. One of the conditions of the competition had been a top speed in excess of 300 miles an hour, and thus far neither aircraft had achieved this. One problem had been reliability issues with the early versions of the Wright Cyclone, which were failing to produce their advertised horsepower, and the Army pushed for a change to the Pratt & Whitney R1830 Twin Wasp, which promised to deliver upwards of 850 horsepower. This turned out to be something of an exercise in futility, as it turned out, the engine barely managed to produce 750 horsepower on a good day, rather than 850, and during the final tests of the competition, the Seversky prototype only achieved a top speed of 277 miles an hour, which was over 10 miles an hour slower than when it was running with the Wright Cyclone engine instead. That being said, the Curtiss prototype was faring even worse with the engine change, and although the top speed requirement wasn't met by either aircraft, Seversky was awarded a contract to produce 77 fighters as the P-35. The production P-35 differed from the prototype in a number of ways. Firstly, it had a more powerful engine, the 950 horsepower R1830-9 version of the Twin Wasp, a version that actually produced its advertised horsepower for a change. The carburetor intake was moved from the upper cowling to a position on the side of the fuselage where it met with the wing. The landing gear fairings were reduced in coverage to save weight,
it's all very
although they
technical.
were still useful in the wheels of
excellent information, but it's all extremely technical. My man goes through step by step, telling you every change to the design from the birth of this particular type of airplane all the way until it is fielded in the military. However, in the case of this airplane, it wasn't fielded in the American military. It was sold to other countries, and they used it against us, which turns out to be an error because it kind of sucked. The thing is, it stayed in development for so long that by the time it was fielded by these other air forces, we were already mucking around with jets and stuff. So, like, sure, sell it to them. A variation of it eventually developed, I believe, into the P-38, which is one of my favorite airplanes ever. Thunderbolt. Dun, dun, dun. Opalized fossils. Yes, no, maybe. Yes.
Hello, and welcome back.
Before we get into that, let's see what y'all say to this one. Bam. What's up, Gimmickless? Good to see you, bud. Everyone says skill is most important. Luck, second. Talent, 3%. I disagree. Talent. Skill has its place. If you don't have the talent to perform something, learn to do it. Develop that skill. But if you only got to do it once, do it 5 times and hope you get lucky until you develop the skill. And you never know. You may actually have talent at something. You won't find out until you try. So the best baseball player is currently in some Cambodian rice paddy making rice and has never put his hands on a baseball. The greatest soccer player plays baseball for like the Bush League Rattle Diamonds, you know, like he's never touched a soccer ball. The greatest football player on earth is probably running across Kenya right now and has never seen a football.
To Curiosity Mine. The Australian Opal Centre at Lightning Ridge, New South Wales, Australia receives quite a number of donations on a regular basis from its contributors. I spoke with Jenny Bramall at the Australian Opal Centre about some of the most interesting recent donations that have been added to the museum's extensive collection.
Yeah, no, I can sympathize with that one.
Belemnite. So it's the internal skeleton of an animal that swam in the Eromanga Sea about 110 million years ago.
That's
Closest
cool.
modern analogue really is the cuttlefish shell, the internal skeleton of the cuttlefish. This
Hold
one.
up. We got a thing to do. The name of this channel is Curiosity Mind. And I've only seen 2 videos, and they're very, very cut and dry, right? They show the thing that the video is about, and then they move on. So, right. And it's not a terribly long video. It's 20 minutes, almost 30.
One is notable for its beautiful colour and pattern. We would never choose to polish a fossil, but this one has come to us in this way, and it's got the most gorgeous shaft pattern or broad pattern in a mix, a full spectrum of colours in light and crystal opal. It's a gorgeous example of Australian light opal as well as.
If you'd like to learn more about belemnite, a really spectacular example of an otherwise belemnite, make sure you
You cuddle a cuttlefish
in which
if
you can
want
also
to,
hear me
but
mispronouncing
not
the
very
word
cuddly.
belemnite way more times than I'm really comfortable.
Pink hand waving, pink hand waving, pink hand.
Now we have a pterosaur tooth. Now this is literally rarer than hen's teeth. Pterosaurs are the flying reptiles that were here when the dinosaurs were on the land, and the plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs were in the sea. And they had these long pointed teeth. This one's missing the tip, but it's otherwise in spectacularly good condition. This is one of 3 pterosaur teeth preserved in opal in the collection of the Australian Opal Centre. We have a researcher who specialises in
you don't
pterosaurs
have to
who will be
develop a
coming to
skill
Lightning
to
Ridge
show
later
your
this
talent.
year, and I can't wait
Talent,
to show
all right.
her this piece.
So
The donor.
you're born with talent. You have to come across the circumstance where that talent exposes itself.
But he's saying that he doesn't like to show his talent because of his, ADHD. So he has to come up with a skill to manage those to be able to showcase his talent. At least that's how I see it. You see what I'm saying? He's saying he hates he
doesn't
everything he's good at, all his talents he's good at, he hates doing because of XYZ. Well, if you develop a skill to take care of XYZ, you'll be able to showcase your talent. No?
That is true. That is true. Most people don't get paid for their talents. It's just like that chick who can whistle all the bird calls without ever having, practice. She just hears them and can, no problem. Or the ability of perfect pitch. That's a talent, right? It's not exactly a skill. It's not something you learn to do. You don't practice perfect pitch and become perfect pitch. You can, but it's difficult. It takes a really long time. But being born perfect pitch, that's just something you can do. Some people whittle. Some people look at a stone and see a shape inside it that just wants to be released. These aren't things you can really teach, although an individual can learn these skills if given the 10,000 hours necessary. Yeah, you're sitting over there double dogging, ain't you? I know you.
What
you
are you
don't
talking
love
about?
me. You don't love
What are
me.
you talking about?
How many panels you on right now? Tell me.
No, I'm speaking of my
Don't
channel.
you shame the devil.
My channel. Your channel.
Yes, ma'am.
I was talking, conversating, but I was muted, and the only one that caught it was Furman. You sure did call me
I know.
out.
I
So
sat and watched you. I was wondering how long it was for you to
I was
catch
like,
it.
some bitch.
Right? You just tell me the whole story. It'll be fine.
The owner of this piece brought it in quite some time ago and wasn't sure what they had and asked us. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, I think I know what this is. And I confirmed with Dr. Elizabeth Smith, and we were really amazed to see this. And we were really concerned we'd never see it again. But 2 or 3 years later, the same person came back and had decided to donate it to the collection. So now it will be available for research, which is wonderful. This is a small part of a collection that came into us that I really love. These are 4 little groups that are all from one mine. So it's always great for us to have a variety of things from a single mine so that we can look at the range of plants and animals and other types of formation from a single location and compare that to other locations. In this case, we have 3 groups of plant material. So this is really typical material from Lightning Ridge, where there's been a mould formed by a piece of plant material being buried in clay, and then inside the opal that's formed in that mould are pieces of clay and possible what we call rot pockets. So where the wood started to rot away, there are voids that are filled with opal. I think these are just exquisite. There's a little group of purple pieces. Another thing that's interesting, just looking at this piece, and probably the others have got the same pattern too, a lot of the plant material here tends to have reasonably clean opal on one side and then a lot of included material on the back. That piece has got that. Let's have a look. Same.
But you have developed those trades, correct? You didn't just pop out of your mama's womb with a hammer in your hand and start framing, right? You had to go and learn how to do that stuff. And while you may have exhibited some talent towards it, you had to learn the skill of the trade. That's work, bro. That's not what we're talking about here. You may have a talent at something work related, but the likelihood of doing it for a job is very slim because, like you said, it's so tedious. It's something so easy for you that it is absolutely non-engaging for yourself. Or at least that's how I take it. But what do I know? I'm just a big fuzzy guy on the internet.
Often the plant material has these blocky shaped inclusions of clay and clay right up to the surface on the back. We think what's happened is the plant material has fallen to the ground, been transported and buried, and as it's sitting bottom down, that bottom surface starts to decompose and the underlying sediment starts to sort of get absorbed up into the space. So we would hypothesize that that's the way that piece landed when it was buried, and that it could have possibly sat on the ground in the air for some time with the bottom surface decomposing for a while before it was completely buried. So there's some lovely pieces with purple and blue. These cute little pieces have got sparks of green and orange. And again, a similar pattern. So less opal on the back. We'll call that the back, but less opal on one side than the other. This little piece has got some pretty orange, green and gold and some green. So these have been sorted primarily by colour, but also by shape and size. Now, these are from the same claim, but this is not plant material. These are what we call septarian structures.
MLA.
So there's been
welcome to the show. I'm going to be dropping the link here in a couple of minutes.
That has dried out.
You ain't got to be on
shrinkage
camera.
Cracks have formed inside the clay that have later filled up with opal. So it's sort of like a mud puddle or a clay pan, but in 3 dimensions. And I think these are beautiful too. They're really interesting. So these are often confused by miners and by other people for things like coral or brains or any other structure that's sort of got a repeated septarian type structure. The septa are these divisions. If you think about the underneath of a mushroom, it's got all of those fine divisions. They're also called septa. So it's from the Latin, I believe, for those divisions. A beautiful little sample of interesting pieces that are not worth lots in dollars, but are absolutely fascinating for the insights they give us into opal formation.
Half time he don't even put
and fossilization. This is part of a collection that I really, really, really love that came in from a miner who had put aside interesting things over 10, 15, 20, 25 years worth of mining all around Lightning Ridge, all around the opal fields, Whitecliff, Sandamuka, Coober Pedy, Winton, everywhere. Miners have these collections on their kitchen windowsills and in their glove boxes of things that look different. And this guy has kept these things for years, and then years later has taken the time during a holiday or COVID lockdown or something to sort of sort them into groups. So what we have here are a pile of chewing gum fossil. No, we've got a pile of really unusual little knobbies. that look like
Nobbies, huh?
discussed.
I want a
Popcorn
knobby.
chicken, miniature cauliflowers, chewing gum. These, again, are the sorts of things that miners might easily confuse as a fossil, but they are in fact knobbies. So they're a nodular structure. Knobbies can take many shapes and forms. They're a geological rather than biological structure, and sometimes they come shaped like this. So we call them chewing gum knobbies, and I think after today we might call them cauliflower knobbies. This is a beautiful pile of something that we see often, but not often in a group like this. This will be from multiple mines over many years. They're little knobbies that on one side have a hollow where there's been a secondary opal formation.
That's what she
event,
keeps saying,
and
man.
inside
I don't
that
get it.
would have
I
been
don't know.
a
I'm
kernel,
aroused.
so a little secondary nodule, if you like, or piece of opal. And those kernels have come out during the mining process to leave that little dish shape. We call it a meniscus. It's got that curve on it that we think reflects the fluid origin of the opal. And perhaps there's been a hiatus in the opal formation that's left a void, and then later that void's filled with opal. And
All right,
there's been
there's
a
the
sort
one
of
hour
a break
mark. Hold
between.
up. I got a little thing we got to do here.
What?
Yeah. It's not just a chill of a Sasquatch tonight. There's something extra going on that I wanted to point out. I hit 2,200 subs tonight, like a couple hours ago. I'll probably lose a couple before I wake up tomorrow, so I'm not overly excited. But I haven't done any sort of celebratory anything since pretty much my birthday, right?
Yeah.
1,500. 1,500 was the last time I did a celebration stream.
Celebrate.
I consider I've been pretty much incognito for the past 3 weeks, other than a few shorts. I think that's pretty freaking good, you know? Yeah, I appreciate it, boo. I was really hoping to shoot some stuff for your movie, but you never did exactly give me an exact thing to exactly do. So I got some ideas in my head about some kind of chicken lip something or other. I can't remember exactly what. But none of your business. That's behind the scenes shit, and y'all didn't hear that. All I know is without some details as to exactly how outlandish it's supposed to get, because I was picturing some Ginger Billy type stuff, right? I'm talking like some Daisy Duke shorts and a sunburn.
And a sunburn?
Yeah, that's maybe a pair of rainbow suspenders or something. I don't know. I was gonna go hard on it. I'm down to clown, but anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna bring up your big baby picture. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yay! I wanted to show the people who just come in. Sorry. She's my treasure. My whole world. Anyway. Thank you. Did you crash and burn?
All right. I had to get the hair off my neck. I was sweating straight down my back, y'all. It's like 68 degrees in here, right?
It's 99 in my garage.
Okay, but it's 68 degrees in here, and I'm sweating like a pig. I mean, like a cop, like a cop on trial, like a cop on trial facing 30 years in the big house.
No, she is not.
No rest whatsoever.
No rest.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, Kat. I'm sure you said something they didn't like, and the next thing you knew, you was missing some stuff.
She slept through the night for the first time last night. It was amazing. And if she didn't sleep all night, I just didn't hear her.
Did I miss Meg? Where's Meg? Wait, shut up, Meg. Wait, where's Meg? Did I miss Meg?
I don't know. Thanks, Scully.
I really want to get a hold of her sound, because if she had better sound, she'd have an excellent channel.
Oh, you're too kind, Gabby. Too kind.
Oh yeah, I was doing stuff. Is it going to upset you if I end your stream?
No.
No.
I only have 4 people, but they're 4 awesome people. Y'all go over to Caucasian. I'll put the link.
Yeah, I'll give it a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link over here for StreamYard. MLH, you don't have to come on camera. Scully as well, you don't have to come on camera, but you
Scully
do have
has to go
pretty
eat.
fucking quick. Like, I ain't gonna be sitting around with some rando sitting on my fucking panel without knowing who the fuck it is. That shit's not happening. I'm not going out like that. I don't care how drunk I get. Yep. So
Later, Firm.
it's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you coming by, even if it was over there. Oh, can you show me something, please?
Like what?
All right, say something.
Hey,
Something?
what's up? What's up?
Oh,
That's good enough. What you up to, bud?
No, not much, man. I thought I'd say hey to you. I haven't been on a show in a little bit here. You know, just thought I'd say hey. What's up, baby?
Appreciate it,
what's
bro.
up?
Another day,
Yeah,
another day. You know. What are you up to, Squatch? What are you watching?
These are opals. These are creatures that were once alive that have become opalized.
Oh, interesting.
Overlap.
There's
I
all kinds
like opal.
Yeah, opals are awesome. They're way rare.
You can end it. No.
I got it muted.
It sort of almost looks like it's had a semi.
I can keep it low.
This is a pile of knobbies with a really
Knobbies.
shape.
I'm
and
telling you,
form
every time she says it, my dick
our chewing
twitches.
gum knobbies. These are
What?
great
Knobbies.
Sometimes we call these.
But you never given a knobby?
They've been given many names that just
I find
reflect
that
the
hard to
shape,
believe.
But they've got this pointy shape.
How many
These
of
are
these?
used as teeth or confused for teeth, fossil teeth, but they're in fact knobbies.
So
Again,
I guess that's the point in time
shapes and
for a
sizes.
toast, huh?
That one's been broken through probably in an.
Shall I start with my
agitated
basic
mining
toast?
process, and that
Totally
shows
down with the toast, man.
grey
All right.
is a
So-
dark grey near black.
Here's to you. Here's to me.
Amber
Oh, that's the best, ain't it? Here's to you and here's to me, and may we never disagree. But if we do, to hell with you. Here's to me.
I like that.
I got that from an old witch in a crack house. And I didn't mispronounce that. I mean, witch is in throwing haints at motherfuckers and shit. I'll tell you her name, but
sectarian structure.
she's already changed
And
it.
it's got a fine texture on this side, and then broader on the other.
Hey,
side.
Firm. Welcome in,
Again,
boo.
really interesting
Good to see
lessons
ya.
and clues.
Hey,
to opal
Chad.
formation,
It's
I
not
think,
just
in these.
Chad. It's
And the last
the
pile
Chad.
here
Look
are
at
a
this.
bunch of
The Chad.
elongate things.
I think
Some
that
of
man
them
should do the should like
bifurcate
take
or
a
split
picture of
into
him face
two.
and get a Chad filter.
That's a
and just
really
use that with the
unusual little piece. And
thing.
again,
I got
they're
too much
often
beard. You can't
pulled
see.
out by miners because they're so different. They're really distinctive in their shape and form. Some of these could be mistaken.
And these
for
things
teeth.
come in
That's
all
quite
sorts of
possibly
things.
A little worm burrow or some sort of
If I'm not
invertebrate burrow,
mistaken,
but it could
the
also be
material
some sort
that
of
is
kernel
opalized was
infill
laid
or
down in the
secondary
last
growth.
million
So
years.
Another vaguely tooth-shaped one.
All right.
Fascinating little.
So
gadgets.
anybody who is
I mean, how
not
does that
currently
happen?
in here
The thing is,
from
opal
hers
starts as
is fixing to
fluid. It
lose the
starts
show.
as water with
It's not
There's
personal.
nobody there.
It
so it
rolls.
can
There's
take the
nobody
shape
there.
of any
All right.
void it goes